The next step for us is to create a material. So I'll quickly go ahead and send off a live render. So if I'm going to shift select all of this and then right click live render. Now we will start by creating a material and then merging it with the rest of the scene. So I'm going to hit tab and material, and then I'm just going to move this down, hit tab, merge, and I'm just going to link this up over here so we can see that we now have a material section in our scene graph. Now if I hover over my material node and hit E, then you can expose its parameters, and I'm just going to rename this green mat. So I'm going to create a green material, and we're going to keep the action as create new material. But if you're curious about this, then you can hit this question mark icon and it will give you an explanation of what each action does. Now if I move down, you can hit this add shader box and you will get a drop down menu. So now we're using 3D lights, so we have a 3D light section, but if you have any other renderer plugins set up, those will also appear in this drop down menu. So we're going to go ahead and select DL surface shader, and this will appear in the parameters, and you'll be able to select your material by hitting this little arrow. And I'm going to create a DL principled material. So this is 3D Light's interpretation of the Disney's principled BRDF. So once I select this, you'll be able to expand this material's parameters. So if I go ahead and edit the base color, then you can double click on this color box and a window palette will open. Now I already know the values I want to set. So if I double click on this and then type in the values I want, so I'm just going to hit these values, 0.4, 0.8, 0.3, and I'm just going to change the roughness to 0.7, so increase that, and then we're going to leave the rest, so keep it quite basic. Now the beauty of materials in Katana is that you can bring in another type of shader. So we're going to create, we're going to hit this box, add shader, and create a Hydra surface shader. And this will appear below, and then you can bring in a Katana constant. Now if I middle mouse button drag this color box onto this one, it'll copy over the parameters. So right now we have our material, but it's not linking up with the geometry. So we're going to create a MaterialAssign node. So I'm going to hit tab and MaterialAssign, place this underneath here, and hover over this node and hit E. Now what the MaterialAssign nodes needs is the path to the geometry and the path to the material. So I'm first going to middle mouse button drag my geometry over to my add statements, and then I can do the same, middle mouse button drag the material over to MaterialAssign. And now our materials are linking up with our geometry. Another way in which you can link in the material over to this section is by shift middle mouse button drag our material node and then place this over here, so it will create a reference, so a more dynamic connection to the MaterialAssign node. However, it is better practice to have an absolute path rather than a referenced connection. Now you'll see in the monitor and in the Hydra viewer our material is now assigned, but we are still missing lights. So that will be our next step in the following video.